willkommen zu GFU Insights and Trends 2023. Das ist jetzt schon mal eine kurze Vorabbegrüßung, um Ihnen zu erklären, warum gleich unser restliches Programm auf Englisch starten wird. Wir freuen uns sehr, Sie alle hier live in Person im schönen WCC am Berlin-Alexanderplatz begrüßen zu dürfen. Wir haben aber auch gleichzeitig viele internationale Gäste per Livestream zugeschaltet. Und auch wenn wir uns hier im Raum bestimmt alle sehr gut auch auf Deutsch unterhalten können, würden die da nicht mitkommen. Und deswegen findet jetzt unser restliches Programm auf Englisch statt.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. Face to face is back there. Good to see so many people here. Welcome. And willkommen. And bienvenue. And benvenuti. Various other welcomes in lots of different languages. The reason why I say that is we are streaming this event live on our channels at the moment. So if you're watching at home or in an office, please also be welcome. Make sure to come face to face next time. And we're also recording it, so some people will be watching this later on at their convenience. My name is Oliver Merlin. I'm the Managing Director of IFA Management GmbH, and that is the new company that's been set up to run IFA Berlin. I'm very happy to be here, and welcome, as I say, thanks for taking this time. We have got an absolutely packed agenda of super content for you to see. Professors, activists, gurus, experts in their field. You're going to get a lot of amazing content and see lots and lots of innovations. Welcome to the Innovations Media Briefing 2023. Right, the problem is my job here is just to welcome you and then really let the real content get started. The problem with that is once I get on stage, it's quite difficult to get me off, so I do have a few slides. Sorry about that. Will only be a few minutes. At IFA, we have 4 eyes that we like to think about. Obviously, innovation is one of them. The first thing, and I think you already mentioned the international side of things, obviously we have international in the title of IFA. International is like the way we like to portray ourselves in everything that we do. So obviously we also talk a lot in English, we talk a lot in German. My team has 11 different nationalities in it. We have 44 different nationalities from our clients and sponsors and exhibitors. And we have over 100 nationalities come to visit the event every year. So IFA is a truly international, global player. Innovation. So clearly, historically, there have been many, many innovations that have happened at IFA throughout the years. This is something we absolutely want to continue to happen, and we're putting a lot of effort into our startup and innovation zone this year, IFA Next. You'll see a lot of innovations over the next few days and in the 5 days of IFA. And the reason why we do all that is that we really want to inspire people, the next generation of startups, the children who are going to come to IFA, adults, everybody who wants to be inspired by the technology they see, be that a consumer, electronics is something that's fun, it could be something in gaming, or it could be the next thing that changes and saves the world, right? And, of course, we want to fire people's imagination. Every adult child that comes through the doors of IFA, we want them to also have fun and be inspired and have their imagination fired. If we do all of that, and we then do all of these things, I'm convinced that IFA can be the best trade show in the world. We all think it already is. We must maintain that level for us to be able to compete globally, and we will continue to be the best trade show in the world. We will, as we're here in Berlin, Berlin lends itself to a great festival environment. It's a fantastic city in which to do something like this. Some of you probably go to South by Southwest or wherever London Tech Week. They put a great festival on around the trade show and the other elements, and we can do that here in Berlin. We are also investing a huge amount, and I passionately believe that we are a content and editorially-led organisation, and that is hugely important, just as much as the trade show. And that will define and make sure that IFA is always at the forefront of the leading thinking in each of the fields in which we participate. And as I said before, some of our competitors have fantastic startup and innovation zones, and we at IFA must make sure that we're always on trend with all of the leading topics and innovations that happen in technology. We believe if we do all those 4 things, IFA will be the best event of its kind in the world. Let's come back to innovation a little bit. See some of you smiling, some of the things in here. I know there's some CDE users probably still in the room. I hope we're probably not going to see some of these inventions and innovations in the next couple of days. Maybe you'll see something like this during IFA. But all of these things were cultural icons in their day. And actually, I'll come back to this slide in my closing address, but I think there's some good lessons to be learned. You're going to see a lot of talk about sustainability these days, in the next couple of days. One of the things that you can now do, you can now get your own personal wind turbine and plant it in your own home, in your own rear garden. So as consumers probably start to get fed up with regulators and governments taking too long to do things, consumers take matters into their hands and start to embrace innovations and inventions that speak to sustainability in a large way. Sustainability is a big topic that we talked about for the next couple of days, as is AI and a few other things, and there's a huge one for us at IFA. What's next? Maybe people will start to have telephones without telephones and you'll just be able to call people in your hands. Hopefully you'll see something like this in the next couple of days and hopefully certainly IFA. That is it from me. I'm going to let you get on with the content program. Welcome, have a great couple of days. Be inspired, talk to lots of people, network, ask lots of questions. And now I'm going to hand over to the stage to Sarah, who's going to talk about more about the GFU trends and insights. Thank you very much, everybody.
And culture. Welcome, Monica.
The wrong concept is to start with the word waste. Nature doesn't know waste. We only know materials, products, nutrients. And that's where we have to come to. We have to come to the idea that everything is used again and again and again. And if you say a world without waste, you think already of the black elephant or the pink elephant in the room. So forget the word waste and think only about nutrients and materials. This is what we have today. We have no waste. We have, for instance, babies who have Pampers, but the Pampers are not made to go into cycles. So we have to have new materials which make it possible that they can be biodegraded afterwards and can be used as nutrients, for instance, for the desert, as it is done in Israel, to have their new trees, for instance. Or you have, for instance, the right picture, you have handkerchiefs or little towels or whatever, which are in the nature, and they have a plastic inside, which doesn't degrade. So this is something where you think you have nice flowers in the nature, but it's only a plastic paper towel. And you have a lot of waste in building uses. And you have a lot of waste, of course, in electronics. We're talking about electronics consumer fair. So there are a lot of rare materials which you cannot use again, and we have to construct things in a different way. So this is what we have today, and if you see that that's not the only problem, you have also a problem of toxicity. You have a lot of things which are not good for the health as well. It's not good for the nature, it's not good for the climate, because everything you produce new, you have also to have a lot of energy, a lot of material again, to distract materials from the earth. For instance, 1 ton of raw material for copper only produces 1 kilo of copper afterwards. And we need a lot of copper for windmills, for instance, electric cars need about 140 kilos of copper. And that's really a problem. And you have toxic substances. So what we have to do, have to find new designs which are not toxic, which are not dangerous, which are good for the nature and good for the health. Even a little thing like a yogurt pot has a lot of chemicals in it, which can be harmful for the environment, for the health, and that's why we have to rethink and redesign everything. If you think about microplastic, for instance, you see a lot of synthetic fibers, clothes which run into the oceans or into the rivers. And you have, for instance, car tires. Nobody knows that they have a lot of microfibers which go into the atmosphere, and they are then the microplastic which swims into the rivers and into the oceans. And you see these poor little birds on Helgoland, which I have taken a picture of, which have their nests on fisher nets, which are not biodegradable, and they can build out things out of that. There are calculations that in 2050 there is more plastics in the sea than nowadays. And that's not a good idea. That's why we have to come to this concept of cradle to cradle, where we think completely and invent completely things in a new way. Everything has to be redesigned. We need consumption projects which can be biodegraded, which can be composted, and we have to have technical products which are a service to you, which you can then take back and use the materials again. And that's a completely different kind of thinking. That's a thinking where engineers and designers have really worked together. Think about the materials they choose, think about how they do it in the future, and what they do from the beginning to the end of the product, and then reuse the materials again. Probably not for the same product, but for an equal quality product. That's the important point, not downgrade. Like at the moment, plastics are recycled for whatever, pots or bags or whatever like that. And that's why our symbol is the cherry tree. The cherry tree shows a lot of things. Nutrients are nutrients. Everything is useful on the cherry tree, even every blossom. It uses only renewable energies. That's what Cradle to Cradle is doing. And it celebrates diversity. We cannot reduce everything to efficiency, because then we would think about only having one pill and a glass of water for nourishing the people of the world. That's not what we think about. We want varieties, art, music, everything is diversity, celebration of diversity. That's what we have to put into our thinking as well. Not thinking of one way to solve things, but a lot of ways to solve things. And if you look at the tree, you see that it produces even oxygen, that produces biomass, that supports biodiversity and provides habitat, for instance, for birds and for insects, which are so necessary for the world. And that's where we have to think in the same systems. So what the system shows is that you have products which you use every day, like detergents, like even t-shirts, and everything which you can use and which doesn't get better over the ways. And that has to be biodegradable, that has to be compostable. And the colors, for instance, have also to be thought in this way. A lot of companies already think about biodegradable things, but then they use the wrong colors, and they are toxic or they are not biodegradable. And that's very important as well. And on the technical side, you have to come to a certain system. We are thinking in these terms a little bit more these days, because we are already renting cars or bikes or whatever only for the use. And this thinking has to come into the use as well for products. So if you think about things you need, like cups like that, then they have to be biodegradable. And if you think about technical things, they have to be constructed in a way, engineered in a way, designed in a way, that they are nice, that they are beautiful, and that they can be easily dismantled, and that the materials can be used again and again. This chair is already pretty old. It's probably 12, 14 years. But it has proven that it's possible, that you can choose the right materials, and that you can use it, and that you can take the materials in the same way afterwards. So where we have to come to is come away from cradle to grave thinking, what we have at the moment. We think about products which are thrown away and put into the garbage, incinerated, and then people talking about using the heat, and that's a good thing. No, it's not a good thing, it's a downgrading as well. We need to use the materials in the same way, because materials are the rare source which we have to. It's really a problem that we only think about CO2 emissions, of climate, of energy, and not thinking about the materials which also uses, which we need for every product, for everything. Especially if you think about all the things which are in short use, like mobile phones or TV sets or computers. They are not used for a long time. So those have to be specially constructed in a way that you can dismantle them, that you can use them again. And you know, everything has its time. In 1992, I have cooperated with Hewlett-Packard to construct a computer which can be dismantled and where material can be used afterwards again. It was possible, it was presented on the Hanover Fair, but you know, it was not the time. There was no incentive to buy this because there was no law which had to give back the materials, and there was not a shortage of materials. So nowadays, I think everybody knows that resources are scarce. People think it probably easier than that. That's where we have to come to, that the design and the engineering is changing. So what we have to do is the target is that we think about quality and usefulness and go into eco-effectiveness instead of efficiency. I told you, efficiency means you only need a glass of water and a pill to be full. But you like to sit together with people and have a nice food. And you need diversity. You need different countries' food. And what we have to come to is to celebrate this diversity. So, the main thing is reduce, recycle, yes. But if you recycle the wrong things, you haven't gained anything. So rethink, reinvent, redesign things, and use the right materials, and design it in a way that you can really use the materials again. And that is a very important point. And what I'm happy about is that the European Union has exactly with their Fit for 55 program and the Green Deal organized this part, not only talking about emissions of CO2, but talking about also how can we put materials into circularity. The instruments are not good yet, but nevertheless, the idea is there. What we have to come to is to give services, not to sell things. So the service of sitting on, then you can pay whatever, 1,000 times sitting on a chair and then you give it back and it can be dismantled. Or to look through the window for 30 years and to have light. And that saves money and that saves resources. And it's interesting for companies now because the resources are getting more expensive to do that. And we have to get now banks and institutions to invest in this idea of service systems. And that's where we still are missing a little bit and where we need cooperation. And I think it's a necessity. If you see how much materials you need for wind turbines, you need for a new laptop, or you need for the cars, you know that you have to find the materials back. And that's why it is so necessary to do that. I told you this example of copper, and I show you here how much copper is used in the past years and how few you have in the world. So, the risks which are in the world, the political crisis, all the wars, all the supply routes, that makes it necessary that we really change this way of producing, of inventing, and that designers and engineers work together, which they haven't done for a long time. And I think some of the companies are already doing it. For instance, if you look at some ventilators, they are doing it already. They're only giving the service. There are now solar systems, which is very important because the solar systems up till now were only waste. So they only rent the service out. And there are a lot of companies already producing these things, and I think it's very important also to talk about this idea of smart home. Smart home is nowadays that you insulate your house well and you have a lot of technique in it. We think a good house which is a good habitat for biodiversity, which has clean water, is good for the air, good for the animals around, and of course it's beauty, and that's where we have to also think about, and that's why we have to think in a new way also to construct our cities, so that they are houses like trees and cities like forests, and we have also a better climate at the same time. The microclimate changes completely with a lot of green in there. You see examples like the Faneuil Town Hall where you can go to, and we have an NGO, which is a Cradle-to-Cradle NGO, which tries to implement these things all over the world. Here in Germany, you have a lot of groups where you can do that. And if you want to know more about it, you can come to the Congress, which will be here in the TU Berlin at the 8th and 9th September and learn more about all the different products, services and ideas of a lot of people, and I'm very happy that this year we will be the first time after 2020 again practical as well. So thank you very much for your attention. If you have more questions, of course I will be there also after these presentations, and let's talk about it and make the change. Let's leave a positive footprint, not a less negative one. Thank you.
Thank you. So always start with why. Why a repair bonus? The global quantity of e-waste is increasing at an enormous rate, almost 2 million tons per year. 2014 it was 44, 2019 it was 54. 2030 it's going to be expected to be 75 million tons. And what's in this abstract graph? It's products that were manufactured. Raw materials were used, fresh water was consumed, rare earths were mined under inhumane conditions, environment was polluted, and huge amounts of greenhouse gases were emitted, which fuel climate change. What's the good news? We can reduce these mountains of waste. How? What we repair, we don't have to buy new. Only 22% of the clients are now repaired. But the consumers want to reply, and there is a lot of room for improvement. And the question was, why are the consumers are not repairing? And the consumer organization, they commissioned a study, and the result shows it is the high repair cost. 74% say the repair cost is why I didn't have my broken appliance repaired. Others said, oh, I want to have a new model, or it's just inconvenient, or I don't want to wait so long, or it's just the lack of spare parts.
Yeah, there's one thing I'm really missing about all these pictures here. This one. Use time, and we are talking about circularity, but we talk so less about repairing. I think repairing is like the most easy way to get into some loop, because you can use like most of the products for any time you want if you can repair them. I think you can hear my heart is beating for repair, and I'm a professional handcrafter. Information Elektronik is it called, and I grew up with repairing all the time, so I know the IFA from since I was a little child. I was going there, and I was always loving to see the innovations and everything. And to be here for me is a very big honor, and I'm here for a mission. We as a company, we want to save the professional repairers in Germany, because their life is getting more and more hard. So we try to support them to get an economic repair, to help them to get know-how and everything to be able to exist. And I'm also like an activist fighting for a universal right to repair in Germany, but also in Europe. And we, as a Reparatur, we are like a very wide range of interest groups. For example, the repair business like me, but also the consumers and consumer protection organizations, the environmental organizations, science and civil society like the repair cafes and everything. And what is special about us, we have a lot of perspectives, but we don't think out of the manufacturer's side or point of view. And we as Wangerooge, we are also a founding member of Wundertisch. Have the right conditions. But what is it that prevents economic repair? In the past, sometimes we are looking in the past and thinking everything was better. I'm not thinking it's true, but I think in the case of repair, it is somehow. So we can learn from the past. But what is it? Yeah, on one side we have the manufacturers. They are sometimes fighting us as repair shops, as repairers, to repair less, because every device that is repaired is not sold, so I think it's obvious. So they have some instruments to make our lives harder, for example, the price of spare parts, and also the low new device prices are a big problem to professional repairers. Sometimes we don't get the exact spare part, we only get like a big group of spare parts, a whole assembly, and not the resistor that is really broken or the plug or something. And also the wide range, the big number of spare parts that are not compatible with another part is making repair more expensive because you need to have all the spare parts in stock. Another point that is directly hitting us is the lack of documentation of software of support by the manufacturer. They all have these things. They have like the circuit plans, but they don't give it to us. So it's getting more hard for us to repair. And we don't have any access to the trainings that the manufacturer is providing sometimes. So they don't let the independent workshops go to their trainings very often. So on the other side there's the politics. They are sometimes doing things that make me really angry. For example, the eco-labels that are sometimes misleading, because I'm going to like a big electronic shop and they are telling me you can save more energy now by buying a new one than I even was using last year. So the numbers, they are not like reality, and they are like forgetting a lot of things. And also the warranty is a thing that I'm afraid of a longer warranty, because it's making us more dependent from the manufacturers. I think this is a very big topic. I could discuss it very much, but we don't have the time for this. And there's also some points inside our society that are bad for the repairability and for the economic repair. And the first problem is we have too few skilled workers. Not only we have, but it's like everywhere. And the turning away from specialist trade shops or retailers. We are getting more and more online shopping, and so we get less information about our product. And this is bad for the quality of the product, because it's only like the review or something is important, only the price is important, but the lifetime doesn't matter. So there's like 5 points that are more important to me. I will talk about this now. So we asked we have nearly 1,000 workshops in Germany. We asked them, especially the smartphone workshops, what is the major risk you see for the future, or what are the major risks? There's 1% that doesn't have any fear. Okay, I think that's pretty normal. But 94% of them told that the spare part availability is frightening them the most. And if I just look around and see what this big fruit manufacturer of smartphones is doing in the moment, I can absolutely understand what they are afraid of, because they are really fighting us. We still get spare parts from China, but in the moment, if I change a spare part, it doesn't matter if it's original or if it's a copy, or this doesn't matter, but if I change a part inside of this phone, I will get a message. For example, this part is not original. Even if it is original, they will tell you this.
In order to be responsible and take this responsibility seriously, we work along 4 action fields. It's material, production, it's the use phase of the product, and it's also recycling. There's no need to say that sustainable business practices and also our people are the key to success to reach our sustainability goals. When it comes to materials, we are reducing the ecological impact and prepare our products for circular economy. We do this by increasing the use of renewable materials and recyclates in our products, but also by reducing the number and variety of materials. Thereby we focus on the entire product, including the packaging. For the second action field of production, we also have a clear mission. We aim for an environmentally conscious production while decreasing our energy demand and increasing the use of renewable energy sources. With the responsible use of water, avoiding contamination and minimizing the waste, we want to reduce our environmental impact beyond the CO2 emissions. The greatest environmental impact of refrigerators and freezers comes from energy consumption during the use phase of the products, because refrigerators and freezers are the only appliances in the household which run 24/7. In this phase, we reduce the environmental impact by continuing to offer top-class energy-efficient products which are maximally durable and easy to repair, supported by a predictive customer service which knows even before the customer when the service needs to be done at the appliance. Furthermore, we provide a broad variety of freshness technologies and features to our customers which help them to reduce the food waste. First, the technology allows highest energy efficiency in the levels A and B, and this efficiency stays that high during the full lifespan of the product. Energy-wise, a vacuum provides the best possible insulation. And due to its crystalline microstructure, the perlite has a very low thermal conductivity, and the combination of the perlite and the vacuum provides the best possible energy-efficient insulating technology. Second, more volume. Due to the particularly effective insulation of a ROX device, we can design walls about 30% thinner than the walls of a conventional foam insulated appliance.
Our factory in Frankfurt operated around 1 million devices in and out, mainly smartphones, tablets, MacBooks, cameras and lenses or consoles. So everything that's a gadget or a technical device that we buy and sell. So that's mainly what we do. Why are we talking about that topic? Of course, you heard it a lot of times today, and on the left side of my presentation you find some things that, of course, it's the KPI stuff. Yeah? You can save 4% of carbon emission due to the fact that you say, okay, what is it really into when you save on electronic devices, and you have the 80% of e-waste globally that is properly not collected and recycled, or you have the 75 megatons that are estimated to be recycled or to be e-waste production in 2030. You almost, all of you might be familiar with the UN and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, that 7 of them we try our best as good as you to work hard on to fulfill them. So I would say, yes, accepted, everybody knows that. But there's a famous saying that says, reason lead to conclusion, but emotion lead to action. And the question is, how do we really get the client, how do we really get the customer in buying that? So how are we really hitting the zeitgeist? How do we get the average Joe or the Max Mustermann in Germany? So how do we get the average person to buy stuff in that refurbishment market? It's just a matter of time. Thank you.
And thank you very much for being here today. Yes, we have heard quite a lot of things about circularity today already. The re as a prefix is kind of what all keywords, or many keywords in this regard, contain: reused, repair, recycle, refurbish. And this is an important subject the whole society is now thinking about. And so this is also what is in our minds here today. In the past decades, people have gotten used to just throwing things away as soon as they didn't work anymore or were simply outdated or not wanted anymore. Not reloved. But at the same time, it has also been the mantra that has been backed by politics and the society as a whole, that prosperity for everyone is the key. And of course, companies have adapted their business models accordingly. And this leads to the simple concept of the market where supply meets demand and vice versa.
Saving water, saving electricity is by far the topic which dominates most consumers across all countries. You see a little outlier, which is France here, which is also natural given, they're less worried about energy, but more worried already about water, given the water shortages already across France and Spain. But what you also realize in rows 3 and 4 is that repairing and recycling are anonymously in the top position, top 3 and 4, ahead of everything else. And that's, as you see here, anonymous across the various countries we had in scope for this year. Now, if we take this one step further and zoom into the age groups, there's a quite interesting pattern here. And you see we cut this into 3 different age groups: younger, mid-agers, and 55 plus. And again, even across age groups, there's an anonymous feeling that circularity, repairing, recycling is important. But you see a few interesting outliers, which is across the age groups, there's different interpretation of how you look at sustainability. If you look at the very right-hand side, you see that the older age group is over-indexing on repairing, 53% comparing to 37%. They seem to feel very comfortable doing the repairs themselves, and we heard a lot about some of these topics today already.
There's a lot of materials gathering in our homes that is not being put into the sustenance cycle again. It's about 50 kilograms, mostly steel, copper, but also aluminum and lithium. We also heard from Monica that the prices have risen starkly in the past few months.
So from our perspective, it is just the future iteration of the internet. Some of you guys may have heard that it is called somehow Web 3. So we call it Web 3, making it break. D. So it's a three-dimensional part of Web 3, you know the Web 2, and it's the next iteration, and so it will be the three-dimensional part of it. And it is not limited to social networks and gaming. There's a wide range of different use cases that are really, really helpful for companies. And it is also very important, yes, just one metaverse. It's like giving a plural to the internet. Internet, no, it's just singular. It's the metaverse, but there are a lot of different virtual worlds. So imagine that virtual world called Horizon by Meta. It's just like a community. It's just like using Instagram. So it's just one virtual world. And there are others like Sandbox and Decentraland and Roblox. So think of a metaverse virtual world as it is just a website or a community or a social network. So that maybe helps to better understand that topic. But the main question is it a hype or a megatrend? Yeah, possibly you know what I think about it, hopefully. But let's share some thoughts about that. Do you remember when they came up with the smartphones in 2007? Steve Jobs standing on the stage and sharing his thoughts and presenting a smartphone with all keys. no keyboard. And there was a guy at Microsoft, Steve Ballmer, he said, no, that will never happen. No one needs a smartphone without a keyboard. Possibly he was wrong. Maybe. And that happens. And after being wrong, and will it be a real innovation? Yes, it is. We all know it is. It changed our lives. Then there is another point where people hesitate and think, it's not that good, because anyone is watching at a smartphone, no one is talking anymore with each other, so another bad thing. But when I did my research, it was quite a lot of fun, because let's share a picture from 100 years ago. Look at this. Bam! But they did it before, and when they came up with the newspapers, everyone was reading. I researched that. They were writing, no one is talking any longer to each other. Everyone is staring at the newspaper. So it was another invention 100 years ago. The same problem, so quite a lot of fun. And let's have a look at the Time magazine in 1994. Maybe some of you can remember the Time magazine titled The Strange New World of the Internet. And I was young, well, let's say younger, but people were asking, do I really need the internet page? What they call it homepage at the point. Do I need the homepage? They asked that in the beginning of 2000 also. Because I have a store. People can walk in and come to me. Do I really need a homepage? Do they? Possibly. So times are changing. That's what happens with innovation. And the Time magazine learned a lot. So that is what the Time magazine was titling now. The next digital era will change everything. So be aware and think of when they came up with social networks, with Facebook, when they started. And everyone was asking, why should I share pictures of my foot on the internet? And now there are a lot of people working inside companies doing social media marketing. So be aware, times are changing, that happens with innovation. And there are for sure good reasons for the metaverse, especially when you have a closer look on what it can do in the marketing sector for companies. So it's amazing for creating leading shopping experiences or increasing sales and customer engagement. You can reach out to new, possibly younger target groups. It's a so much better way of product visualization, as you will see. It increases employee engagement and skills for training purposes. It has an amazing potential to reduce the return rates and the service costs, as you will see. You can be the lead for the future in commerce, and for sure you can build metaverse now. So the time is now, I would love to say. And I brought a lot of use cases from our customers, and maybe that helps to illustrate and better understand the power behind that technology and invention. It's amazing for product presentation. Pictures that are moving are a lot more sticky from a psychological way. And it's interactive, so it's again a lot more sticky and it illustrates the product so much better. And it's also amazing to showcase, for example, home appliances. What can you do with that? How to use it? And you can scan it if you love to. The QR code, and you will be able to place with augmented reality exactly that model right next to you. So if you free scan the QR code, place it next to you. And that's also amazing. Without any installation right next to you. So it's a very powerful way to learn more about the product, see these animations. It's a powerful, interactive way. And people will spend more time on the product, considering if they would love to buy that. It works also for a screwdriver, just to give you some ideas, consumer electronics, or maybe a notebook, just to learn more about the size, the quality, how thick it is, and so on. So it illustrates a lot better how a product is, especially when you place it right next to you in augmented reality, because it's very, very accurate, and you will learn the right size of the product. And it's also a lot of fun. Some of you might know that car. Be quick, scan that one. So it's amazing. And it's also very powerful to using it for configurators. Let the customer play with the product, configure it, learn which different variations there are available and so on, and to use explosion graphics to learn how it will look when you interact with it. It's so much better than using pictures. And talking about augmented reality, you can place that stuff right next to you, right on the table, and configure it. And it will reflect the right colors that you have on the wall, so you will see exactly the right size and the right color variation. Augmented reality is so powerful by combining that in the metaverse. And it's also amazing when we're talking about circular economy. So a lot of our customers are using that for spare parts ordering, because that is an easy way to find a spare part instead of searching it somehow on the internet. And we can also for sure integrate these products easily into a website. Like this. Let the user play around with it, and that 3D model has only a size of 500 kilobytes. So if you would take a picture of that with your smartphone, it will be 3 to 5 megabytes in size from just one angle. So we invented a technology to shrink these models a lot, so it's easy to integrate. And for sure, you can also use it for instructions and service purposes. Let the user, the customer, the partner, the employee learn more about the product in an interactive way. And you can for sure use it for virtual showrooms. Showcase your products in a surrounding that fit the needs of the customer. And that is also an amazing example of Beckman Dickinson. They showcase their medical laboratory devices and so on in how they can add value to each other using them in a chain. And that's amazing. And combining that with already existing content in HTML, in videos, PDF and so on, it will have an amazing way to explore how these products work hand in hand. And it's also amazing by illustrating stuff that you typically can't see. Like in that case, how smartphone and IoT devices communicate with each other. So visualizing stuff that is typically not visible. And like Deutsche Telekom with T-Words does, it's also an amazing way to do spatial commerce and customer services. So you can upload a picture here, an avatar will be set up, you can just walk in, learn more about the product. That's a virtual flagship store of Deutsche Telekom connected with the e-commerce solution, pulling data live from that set, showcasing the availability of 5G, and you can see other customers and also service people walking around, talking to them, interacting. It's 24/7. It's amazing availability right in the internet. And you can also use that for live shows. In that case, it is produced of pictures of people and converted to 4D, so a 3D video in the end, just showcasing products, in that case, clothes. And it is the AWE, so it's, I would say, the leading event when it comes to augmented and virtual reality world, so the AWE. And it also showcases that it is not necessarily a one-to-one copy of the physical world, so you can freak out, you can build stuff, you can build an experience, you can build something with fantasy. And like Deutsche Telekom is using this technology also for analysts and press and media briefings and stuff like that. That's also a very playful, engaging exploration through services and products. And I'm pretty proud that we've already done the virtual version of the IFA with that solution, with 120 exhibitors and hundreds of thousands of attendees. Maybe some of you remember. And it's also a pretty powerful way of interactive presentation. So let the customer enjoy the experience, learn more about the product in a very playful experience. And it's also amazing for entertainment purposes, like in that case where some 100 people are dancing and having fun and cheering a brand with a live DJ. And you're free, as I said. Can create experiences, not necessarily indoor, could be also outdoor, whole city or whole planet. Let the people enjoy and explore the brand and the products. And I'm also very proud to showcase that one. So it's an augmented reality portal. It's a physical portal. You scan a QR code, and just with a smartphone or a tablet and web browser, you're walking through, and then you're entering the metaverse. It's very, very easy to use. You can look around after entering the portal, and if you look back as you saw, then you can see still the real world and step back. And what we learned is to give you some numbers. It lowers dramatically the return rates because the customers know the size, the color exactly of the product. So they know before they order. It increases the likelihood of a purchase. And it increases the retention time. And that matters a lot for search engine optimization. And what we learned in the case of work and collaboration is that it reduces the emissions. It is less time required for participants, and for sure it lowers overall the costs for an event. And what I would love to share with you, we tried to pack it to 10 rules for success in the metaverse that are sticky and easy to use. Number 1, you should understand the metaverse as Web 3D. That's quite easy. It's just the internet, only in this third dimension. And accessibility is the key. So what happened to the people trying to build metaverse solutions that run only on VR headsets? For whom? For less than 1% of the users out there? Is that a good idea? And everyone is asking himself, oh, our website runs on mobile devices, and can anyone access that? So think of solutions that run on any device. Then whereas in our case it runs also on the browser, but still on a VR headset so that you can dive deeper into the immersion. And another so simple rule, it's the same as in the Web 2. Update your content. Build an experience and let that experience stay as it is. Why should people visit it twice or a third time? So it's also about updating the content. And use the metaverse not only to showcase your brand, it's also about showcasing the products. So if the quality of 3D is good enough, then it's amazing to showcase your products. People will learn about that. And you should also interact with avatars. It's more engaging, it's more playful. I'm not alone in that experience. There are others, there are service people. So you can use that 24/7 with avatars, with service people, or maybe build with AI, so automatically with services. But it's engaging and it's playful. And here in that case, it's just me, a better version of me doing push-ups every day in the metaverse. As you might see, maybe the metaverse everything is better somehow. Yeah, but the amazing thing is connecting that to AI, or maybe to some scripted layers, gives you service avatars that help people 24/7 when searching the right product and assisting them. And it's so much better to talk to an avatar than to a chatbot. So it's much more engaging, believe me guys. But you have to elevate the artists or presenters. If they look exactly the same way as the avatars of the visitors, no one will know that they are the presenters. So maybe make them bigger or better looking, or producing them with that special video technique, something like that, that will help. And what you can do with the metaverse, and we talked about that, about user-generated content and so on, so that's powerful stuff. Let the user generate the content. So build communities, let them interact. Like these guys did it, building a whole world in the metaverse. You can jump in and you can interact with each other, and they're talking about energy and sustainable energy, and it's amazing what these guys created there in a very interactive and playful way. And maybe some of you may have heard of NFT. It's not dead, but it's not that high at the moment, but it's powerful. But if you're considering using NFT, I would recommend to not only do it for some artistic pieces stuff. NFT is so much more powerful, so you can use it as a proof of completion, for example, or as a proof of ownership, or as a proof of access, just like a ticket, or for gamification and digital twins, and also for customer loyalty. It's like giving them a stamp. So there are good ways to use that and connect it with the metaverse. It's very easy to use and powerful. And that's maybe the most mind-blowing part of my presentation, even if it's not looking that good, possibly because it's not animated. But it's about analytics. And in marketing, maybe you know that for sure, it's all about analytics. It's about learning what have I done with what impact. And don't think of not having only a website and the time that someone spent there, knowing exactly what they did in the experience, how long they looked at the product, how long they played with that, where they spent time, where they looked at it at a certain point in their experience. That's amazing. So you can learn so much and so improve the experience and also your products. So we gathered amazing information on that. And the pretty cool thing is, in our case, our platform is hosted in Germany, so it's okay from that angle. And last but not least, use the metaverse along the whole customer journey. People often think that it's only about awareness. It is not wrong. Awareness is, oh, you did something in the metaverse. Wow. Think of a solution that really helps you. That helps also for consideration and conversion. Talking about spatial commerce, virtual commerce, and retention, after sales, services. You saw some examples. People and companies are already doing that. And if it is engaging and good enough, then we're talking also about advocacy. Customers will be engaged, amazed, they will share. Oh, look what they did with augmented reality and virtual reality, and I can just place a product there and learn much about that. So it's also about advocacy. So here's just one slide to sum these 10 rules up for you guys. And yeah, we have about 50,000 spaces, so virtual worlds in our platform at the moment. So we learned a lot. And by following these rules, it will be much, much better experiences. So, thank you very much for listening. Have a nice day.
training environment. So in this case, this was a product made for a company called Seat Tires, which is a very large Indian tire manufacturing company. And they were using this to train employees because there was this attrition rate problem and there was a lack of skill training people and there was a lot of complications that occurred during people training. And by using this, they were able to actually increase their efficiency